And then Loris Baz, who lines up in 12th. So all of these riders, of course, benefiting from their grid slots that they earned in the Superpole session. The best of the performers that didn't make the top 9 this morning.
Yeah, and certainly for Xavi Fares, he was the only rider that made his way into those leading positions. And that's why we end up with Laverty, Vierge and Baz on the front row of the grid. You can see here a little bit of activity for Kawasaki. That's going to be on Jonathan Ray's bike as well, with potentially a change of tyre there for Ray on the grid. We did hear from Alex Lowes that he was going with a different tyre today compared to yesterday. That'll be a change to the X compound tyre for Lowes, which would be the softer tyre. And you would imagine that Ray is going to be the same. This could be a little bit of gamesmanship from Kawasaki as much as anything else.
Well, the big heavy tyres, so hard work to get them onto the grid. I hope he does make a change now, having made the tyre engineers run out up to the start line. Completing the 4th row now, Loris Baz, as we said, 10th place finish for him in race 1. Not been the best of weekends for him. He's scored higher in Aragon, and particularly race 1 in Assen, where he looked good value.
Yeah, and for Baz, it was a big crash this morning as well for him through that last corner, but hopefully he's able to bounce back from it and have a good result today as well, because that Bonovo team have done a good job this weekend with Laverty and Baz as well. They've been pretty closely matched to the factory bike of Scott Redding.
Yes, so Redding, who will line up from 7th on the grid, Laverty in 10th and Loris Baz in 12th. 5th row of the grid then for Kota Nazane, Axel Bassani and Luca Bernardi. Nazane with a couple of points in race 1, and what a relief that will have been for him after failing to score in the opening 2 rounds. Competitive enough with 11th in the Superpole race, just 2 positions behind making it onto the 3rd row, so he will start in P13. 14th on the grid for Axel Bassani. He was 12th in race 1, 10th position, and just 1 place outside of qualifying onto the 3rd row of the grid earlier on today for Axel Bassani.
Yeah, Bassani we saw in the Superpole race. He was a rider that opted for intermediate tyres front and rear. The gamble didn't work out for him, and that's why he ends up in the 5th row of the grid.
Yes, completing that 5th row will be Luca Bernardi on the number 29, the Barney Ducati. He was 13th for 3 points in race 1, 15th earlier on today, so not quite being able to replicate the form from race 1. He scratched around for 9 championship points, scored in race 1 in Aragon, race 2 in Assen, and then here in the feature-length race yesterday afternoon. The 6th row of the grid features Marvin Fritz, Christophe Ponson and Tati Mercado. This is Fritz, who had a fair off himself in the Superpole race earlier on here today, so looking for his first points coming in at late notice, of course, this weekend.
Yeah, Fritz has done a solid job this weekend. Obviously for him, he expects to have some World SBK outings this season for Yarsh. That'll be later in the season, probably Catalunya and Most, and then we'll be able to see him there for his full team in the Endurance World Championship. And he did a good job when he jumped on that bike last year as well, but this weekend's been a very different fight for him, and certainly for Marvin, he'll be expecting to just keep himself in those points paying positions, see what he's able to do.
Yes, alongside Marvin Fritz on that 6th row will be Christophe Ponson and Tati Mercado. This the number 23 of Christophe Ponson. He was 18th in race number 1 and 12th outside of the points in both of the races thus far. Mercado completing that 6th row of the grid, and then row 7, Hafiz Shireen, Isaac Vinales and Oliver Koenig. We've already heard from our pit reporter Dave Goddard with Alex Lowes on the grid, and I think we can go back down to him now.
Yes, we've got Honda team manager Leon Camilla with us. Leon, some good results yesterday, but a spill for Xavi Vierge this morning.
Yeah, slightly unlucky to be honest. He made a really good start. He chose slick front and rear, which I think was the best option at the end, but yeah, he was in traffic, and yeah, you know, it's hard to see a lot of places. There was only one very small line, and he made a little slight mistake, a little bit too aggressive on a wet patch and went down. But I think honestly it's really easy to make in them conditions, so yeah, unfortunate, but also he made a very good job. He went with an intermediate front, and yeah, did an amazing job. I didn't expect them lap times from him, especially towards the end of the race when it was obviously hot conditions for that front tyre. But yeah, both are doing good. Both are capable of some good results in this second race. So we'll see how we go.
Great stuff. Thanks, Leon.
Thank you.
Leon Camier then with his thoughts ahead of race 2, and Honda certainly feeling that they're a little bit closer to the sharp end. The problem is the top 3 manufacturers and their official teams looking so strong at the moment. Difficult to try and bridge those kind of gaps.
Yeah, it really is, and certainly what you see at the moment with the top 3 manufacturers are bikes that work well week in, week out, every track we go to, and we've had 3 very different tracks up to this point of the year, but it's very encouraging for Camier and for Honda to see that they've been able to be a lot stronger this year compared to previous years.
Yes, as we continue on through the last couple of riders through the field, mentioned already Isaac Vinales and Oliver Koenig. As far as the riders at the head of the field, Ray, Razgatlioglu and Bautista, well, each of them have got a case to make that they are a potential winner here, and you wouldn't like to put your money on anyone in any given race in World SBK these days.
No, I think that the only thing that you're going to take for granted is that we're going to have a big scrap at the front.
Yes, as we complete our 21-rider field, of course, an abridged lineup. As I mentioned previously, we lost the services of Luca Mayas after his spill, heavy spill as well, earlier on today. We were already 3 riders down after race 1 with problems. After the 3 free practice sessions with problems for Michael van der Mark in FP1, Philip Ertl in FP2, and then Garrett Gerloff in FP3. A great loss in the case of Gerloff in particular, because of his great results around here in the past and his excellent performances on Friday morning. So that brings us to the end of our grid presentation. We pan across our top 3. Alvaro Bautista, the race 1 winner, looking to make it 2 feature-length wins this weekend. Toprak Razgatlioglu, 2 second places, has gone 8 races in the defence of his title without a first victory. And Jonathan Rea, this morning's winner, making his 350th World Superbike start to go second in the all-time rankings.
Traffic around here, you've got to be patient as well. You can't afford to get too greedy. I don't think Bourdais was being greedy by passing that Porsche earlier on at the hairpin, but he certainly let his concentration lapse just a little bit, and you can't afford to do that.
No. Our Porsche keys to the race, no mistakes. We meant penalties, but just, I mean, what was that? 20 seconds he lost there, and now he's got to make it up on track. Now, in fairness, he's got the pace. And he's already...
He's flying.
He's absolutely on it. He's taking 2 and 3 seconds out the car in front. Now, he's got to hit that traffic yet. Yeah. He's got to hit the same traffic.
Yeah. That's exactly right, John. That's a very good, very, very good point. 4 laps ago, the gap was 16 seconds to Philip Albuquerque, was ahead of him. Then it was 14.8, then 12. Then on the previous lap, it was about 8 seconds. It's now down to 5 seconds between Sebastian Bourdais and Philip Albuquerque ahead of him. But catching him is one thing. He's then going to get past him and then close in on the rest of the pack as well.
Welcome back to VP Racing Fuels, part of the IMSA family, and back with us here on IMSA Radio in 2022. Got some great bits and pieces coming from them through the year, and they'll be supporting our in-race updates for the individual classes throughout the races this year. And thank you to them for their support of our broadcasts, along with Michelin and Porsche, and of course Haggerty, and the team PRs and the teams as well, of course, who help us with all of the information flow. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. This battle at the front of the field is close. Back up again, down to just 1 second between first and second. Alex Lynn from Tom Blomqvist, the dark red and black at the front of the car, then a dark red for the leader. Pink and white is second place, going down towards turn 6 now, and then red and white for the Wheel and Engineering 31 car. That is in third position. Those are your top 3. It's still Corvette Racing leading by 2.5 seconds in GTD Pro for Mathieu Jaminet for Pfaff Motorsport, the plaid number 9 Porsche, and Ross Gunn in the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin's about another second behind. Then it's Madison Snow for Paul Miller Racing in the number 1 BMW. He's got 7 seconds on Jack Hawksworth, and he's not even in the same class. It is Joel Miller in the 59 Crucial Motorsport. That's the bronze metallic coloured 59 car, the McLaren. And then the team caught off AMG GT3, Mike Skeens, another half a second further back in the number 32 car. That's your top 3 in each of the classes with VP Racing Fuels.
And what a start to the season it has been for that number 32 team. There's all sorts of dramas through the first couple of events, and Henry Gilbert, who was sort of part of that operation, he's sort of stepped back since Sebring, and as we heard earlier on, unfortunately. The other part of the partnership is in hospital at the moment. Was a partnership in hospital at the moment. But the team's they've been pulling together equipment, trailers, you name it. But here they are at Long Beach, and once again running really, really strongly. It's been very much hand to mouth for that little operation in the early stages. But once again, running in the top 3. I mean, after the first 2 rounds of the season, they lead the overall championship and. In GTD category, so it's been a tremendous start for Stephen McAleer and the driver at the wheel of that car right now, Mike Skeen, who's been always massively kind of underrated, if you like, but this year he's really stepping into his comfort zone.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, Jeremy. Absolutely agree with you. So the leaders now are heading into the fountain.
Is Albuquerque in the pits?
Albuquerque is in the pits. Now this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because you said right at the beginning of the show in Michelin Countdown to Green, actually, that this is not, if it's all green, this is not a simple one-stop race for the DPIs. It's a 2-stopper.
Indeed, yeah. If there's no full course caution, they're going to need a splash of fuel, almost certainly, unless they really stretch it out. And the Acura, I think, is a little bit better on fuel consumption, conceivably, than the Cadillacs. But he was kind of at the back of the pack there. He's been closed on by Sebastian Bourdais and probably wasn't going to keep him behind him. So the Wayne Taylor team was elected to come in, make their stop now. And if there's a full course caution at this stage,
2 tyres only, rears only,
then
rears
will
only,
be in good shape. As long as he stays on the lead lap, which he should do with this pit stop, then he should stay on the lead lap. And if there's a full course caution now, the pits will be closed. Everybody will pack up behind the safety car. Then they will make a stop. And at that point, the car that has already made its pit stop will stay out on the racetrack, that being Philip Albuquerque, and he'll be in the lead of this race.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jeremy. But that was interesting. That was rear tyres only for Philippe Albuquerque. And in our Porsche Keys to Race 2 versus 4, that I presume is because they could only change 2 tyres in the time that they were refilling it. We've only been running 11 minutes, so if they'd put another 2 tyres on, it would have been time standing still in the pits that they didn't want to have, Jeremy.
Yeah, and they did not change drivers, didn't they? So,
no, absolutely. Albuquerque came out. Yeah.
Right, because. They could have done there is a minimum drive time. Everybody has to drive. For DPI though, it's only 5 minutes. So they could have made that driver change. It'd be good to go to the end. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't do that. As you see, a move down the inside there. That's Robbie Foley making a pass on the Gradient Racing Acura. That is for the 6th position in GTD. For the GTD classes, by the way, pro and non-pro, the minimum drive time is 35 minutes. I say that applies to pro as well, which is a change from years past when GTLM it was the same as DPI in terms of the minimum drive time. But every driver needs to do a minimum of 35 minutes in all of the GTD cars.
Yeah, but only 5, as Jeremy mentioned.
And Sebastian Bourdais has found a way past to Tristan Vautier.
Interesting.
And he's just reset fastest lap of the race, therefore a new record, 1 minute 10.3 for Sebastian Bourdais. Wow.
That is motoring along. This is not qualifying. Remember, these cars can't be turned up and turned down. They run as they are. They'll probably run with a little less fuel in qualifying, but not very much different in terms of the setup here, I wouldn't have thought. So this race pace is absolutely cracking. We got down to a 69 second lap, didn't we, Jeremy, in qualifying?
Yeah, it was 69.472 for Sebastian Bourdais, which is a remarkable time. 4/10 clear of Alex Lynn in the sister Cadillac. And in a race right now, Bourdais is fastest up at 1 minute 10.3. Nobody else has got below, well, the next best lap is, well, everybody else actually, has done 11.2 or 11.3. Remarkable pace by Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, he's
but into traffic again now for our race leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to come round very quickly, Jeremy, as they're going. The race leader now coming down the bottom of Pine, turning right and heading down Seaside Way, and he's got a gaggle of cars right ahead of him, which are all battling for position, and this is right at the front of GTD. So it's Madison Snow, Jack Hawksworth is there, then it's Joel Miller and Mike Skeen. They're all in that run, and that is what the leaders are going to come up to shortly. They've just gone across the line. Here come the leaders now, and there's a huge line of GT cars that they've got to get through, and they are battling at the front of the GTD field. So down again through the gearbox as the leader is looking for a bit of clarity through round the back of the convention centre, coming down to turn 5 now for the 0-2, Alex Lynn, and now heading down to turn 6.
Top 3 cars absolutely nose to tail, John.
Yeah, coming down to 6. They've just gone by the NSX.
It's Aidan Reid, the Aussie, and Aidan Reid driving that Rick Ware Racing Acura. He is well embedded with Rick Ware Racing, is Aidan Reid, because when he's going to be doing all of the Sprint Cup races with this team in this Acura, but away from the IMSA series, Aidan also is an engineer with Rick Ware Racing in the Cup series. They run a couple of, in the NASCAR Cup series, they run a couple of cars there, and Aidan is one of the engineers on that team.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Fastest Sector 1 of anybody by Sebastian Bourdais. He's carving his way back through after that mistake early on when he was leading the race. Still over an hour and a quarter to go. And the leaders down through turn 1. More traffic ahead of them at the moment, with the GTD leading battle right in there. 27 is Roman De Angelis in the heart of racing. He's 5th in GTD. Conor De Philippe's in there in the GTD Pro BMW. Then Russell Ward, Mike Skeen. These are all the cars that the leaders have to come through. Big move down the inside by the leader at turn number 6, and that got him offline. And here's an opportunity for Blomqvist to close in as the leader Alex Lynn tries to go around the outside of the heart of racing Aston.
Look who's right with him, John. Sebastian
Bourdais is back. Sebastian is right there, and he's going to have a look down the inside at turn 9. That's way offline as he has a look down the inside of the red and white Whelan car. This is going to get pretty frisky pretty quickly. Leader washing out there through turn 10 to 11. Now he's on the wrong line, and Lynn gets an awful launch out of turn 11, but everyone else was held up as well as they blaze past Ross Gunn. Now they go to the left-hand side of Madison Snow, who's leading in the GTD Pro category, down towards turn 1. Top 4 embroiled in the GT battles. Top 3 have got past Madison Snow, and here comes Bourdais. Pretty much follow my leader through the mountain, through the fountain section. We had Efren Castro picking flowers and cutting the hedge there earlier on in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America race with a lap 1 incident, but they've all managed to survive.
1 minute 17.2 for Alex Lynn last time around. We talked about the lap record set just a few laps ago by Sebastian Bourdais. 1:10.37 seconds the traffic cost him on that last lap, and that's again just a reminder that you've got to be patient in these cars. You're not going to be able to turn qualifying tight laps every time around, because there's going to be traffic in the race. So don't get too greedy as he goes around the outside of Mike Skeen in the Korthoff Mercedes. Isn't close enough there, and Mike Skeen very wisely there keeps that door shut, just not making sure there's no temptation for Alex Lynn to do anything silly going into the hairpin. Good driving, heads up driving, I think, there from Mike Skeen in kind of a 32.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the booth, and this short race giving us plenty of action, part of the sprint championship for the GTD runners. Wow. This is
Bourdais, stunning drive by Bourdais.
Well,
and he's pissed at himself quite clearly for making that mistake, and he is absolutely going to make up for it.
It's the old saying of the red mist, isn't it? But he's controlling it, Jeremy. We said it was an uncharacteristic mistake. He obviously knows it was his mistake, and he's experienced enough to be able to try and put that behind him. But what he's doing, he's using that annoyance, that frustration with himself, and he's putting in qualifying laps. Even through the traffic, he's consistently been quicker than everybody else.
That's right. I mean, the lap he's third in this race is faster than the last two DPI cars on the grid, so it would have put him fifth on the grid. Yeah, it's a lot cooler today, so the temperatures are probably a bit more conducive to good lap times, but still, in race trim, that is mightily impressive from Sebastian Bourdais. And he's still, his best lap, he's still not only the only one into the 1 minute 10s, but a 1 minute 10.3 has been his best. That's almost a full second on everybody else. He just loves this racetrack, and it shows. He's got the confidence, John.
And that's what it's all about, to be honest, particularly on a circuit like this. The drivers tell us that there's never any issue with track limits here. Side by side coming out to turn 5. You can't have any issues with track limits here and be greedy, because you're going to clout a concrete wall. And that was Pipo Derani going through on Blomqvist. Derani is second, and Bourdais has gone to third, followed him through. It was really forceful driving by the Brazilian in the red and white number 31 Wheel & Engineering Cadillac. But he's managed to make it go, got a really good run coming into 5, and slid up the right-hand side of Blomqvist and made it stick by the time he got to 6. And of course, Bourdais, in the mood he's in, was thinking, thanks very much, people. You've kicked the door in, I'll follow you through. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Super afternoon. And thank you for joining us, whether you're at the track, whether you're listening on Sirius 207 or around the world on RS2, the home of IMSA Radio at imsaradio.com. Live World Feed TV with this audio if you're outside the US and your territory doesn't have a network TV deal. Coming up to, in fact, just after 10:30 in the UK, 11:30, and Bourdais going through to second, side by side. 3 cars across the track as the Aston Martin of Heart of Racing there just had to hold its line, and that was Roman De Angelis, I think, who did exactly the right thing. And the 2 Cadillac prototypes, one either side, and Bourdais made the best pick and goes back to second place, and is now fewer than 3 seconds behind the leader. He's up behind the Pfaff Porsche now. So actually that must have been Ross Gunn in the Pro Aston Martin that they've just gone through. And now the 2nd, 3rd and 4th place cars are back together again as they carve their way through the GT traffic. This is phenomenal stuff, Jeremy. IMSA at its best.
Yeah, it really is. And quick shout out here to Conor De Filippi, who had to start at the back in the number 25 BMW M Team RLL entry, having had that effectively overboost or over rev problem in qualifying. He qualified second, but had to start right at the back. He's worked his way all the way through the field from the 25th position on the grid to 14th now. He's still 5th in GTD Pro, but it's been a magnificent effort by Conor De Filippi. He's from San Clemente, California, just what, 25 miles or so south of Long Beach. Normally it takes about 45 minutes to get here. It took some people 2 hours on Thursday evening to get to the RDC. They did dinner from San Clemente. He lives now in Northern California, but he has a lot of friends and family here this weekend cheering him on. He's never had much luck here, and it certainly wasn't. He wasn't very lucky yesterday, but it's been a great drive this afternoon so far for Connor De Filippi and car number 25.
Great to hear the engines of the GT and prototypes back on the streets of Long Beach here. 79 WeatherTech GTD this weekend is the Cooper McNeil driven AMG GT4. Has been a Porsche, but led to believe they're going to be using that for the rest of the season. Spin for Turner Motorsport. Ooh. Down at the bottom of Pine as Durrani has come in to the pit lane after getting back up to second and then dropping back to third, and with an hour and 9 minutes to go, that's what, 69 minutes, 30 odd minutes each. They're basically splitting this race up into 3 equal parts, Jeremy.
Yeah, they're certainly committed now to a two-stop strategy, and there's a lot of yellow in the second part of this race. So yes, they've committed to making 2 stops here, get the driver change done there in case the next stop is a real short one, and get Tristan Nunez out there. And he's lost a couple of positions there, people, so why not? And I think that's a good call by that team. Again, if there's a full course caution between now and when the other leaders come into the pit lane, i.e. the 2 cars that were ahead of him, the 2 Ganassi Cadillacs, then the cars that have already made a stop will be looking very, very good, because when the other cars, after they packed up behind the safety car, then they make the pit stop, they will be behind the cars that have already made their first pit stop.
So what happened to Robbie Foley earlier on then? I just missed his braking points on the bumps going down the hill, and rather sensibly bailed out and didn't hit the wall. That's it's good experience there. If you're not going to make the corner on a normal circuit, quote-unquote normal circuit, if there was a bit of runoff, you might run on and even run over a bit of grass maybe and then rejoin further around the corner. Can't do that here, because if you make a mistake, you're going into something very, very solid indeed.
Yep, and look, here's the number 31 car coming into the hairpin. Look, he's only just ahead of the race leader, Alex Lynn. So, that was crucial to make that pit stop for number 31 car and not go a lap down to the overall race leader. Even though the number 02 car still has to make a pit stop, you need to be in front of that to take advantage of any potential full course caution period. So he is behind. Tristan Nunez, the number 31 car, is behind